The following audio presentation is a production of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, in association with the Division of Continuing Studies and the Institute on Ethnicity, Culture, and the Modern Experience. This production was originally funded by the New Jersey Historical Commission and has been remastered by the Rutgers ITV studio.
She's really big.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I don't think we have anything like that in Detroit.
No.
Well, I've been coming to Atlantic City for 70 years. And I never knew Lucy was here until I moved to Margate. This is the God's honest truth. Everybody, you say, where do you live? Right down across the street from Lucy's. Everything. Where do you eat? Well, we eat down the street from Lucy's. There, down up that way, we're next door to Lucy's. So Lucy is the Margate. This is Margate to me.
Lucy the elephant really doesn't mind being Margate's most recognizable tourist attraction. On this perfect summer day in June, the huge gray pachyderm stands quiet guard over this modest shore community, the object of curious stares from visitors. For over a century, she's gazed out over the Atlantic Ocean with unblinking eyes as the world changed around her. She's witnessed the transformation of Margate from desolate marshlands to bustling tourist resort. She's weathered several hurricanes and countless storms over her 118 years of existence. And she's gone through several different colors over the years, including black and brown. But Lucy's a real survivor, and her story is a testament to endurance and devotion. Lucy was the brainchild of a Philadelphia man, James Lafferty, whose dream was to sell real estate in what was then South Atlantic City. Back in 1881, it was an unattractive wilderness, and Lafferty needed some kind of lure that would draw people to the area to buy building lots. Perhaps inspired by the Victorian era's penchant for all things gigantic, especially architecture, Lafferty hit upon the idea of a 6-story elephant that would house his real estate office. In his application for a patent, Lafferty stated,
"My invention consists of a building in the form of an animal, the body of which is floored and divided into rooms. The legs contain the stairs which lead to the body."
It took 12,000 feet of lumber, 200 kegs of nails, 4 tons of nuts and bolts, 5,000 square feet of tin for her hide, and about $25,000, and Lucy was born.
She weighs 90 tons. Her ears weigh 2,500 pounds each, and she became a real estate office. That was her first history.
Josephine Harron is president of the Save Lucy Committee. Lucy, she says, proved to be the attraction Lafferty needed. He sold off the properties in the area, and the town of Margate eventually came to life. Lucy's life took another turn when in 1887 she was bought by the Gertsen family and became a tourist attraction. For 10 cents, you could tour the furnished interior and climb up to the howdah, or writing pavilion, on her back. Later, Lucy was rented as a summer home to an English physician and his family. Her interior was converted to 4 bedrooms, a dining room, parlor, and kitchen. A bathroom was installed in one of the closets in her front shoulder, and her trunk was supposedly used as a chute for ashes. She also had a brief stint as a tavern, but in the days of oil lamps, fire was too real a danger. Lucy went back to being a tourist attraction.
Up until the late 1960s, when the building started to deteriorate from, unfortunately, lack of care and being in a beachfront environment, she was destroyed by a lot of storms and sandblasting and salt air, and she started to rot. She had great big gaping holes in the sides of her.
Lucy's future appeared bleak indeed when the city of Margate condemned her in 1963 as a safety hazard. The Gertsens put the property up for sale, and a high-rise condo company was ready to purchase it and tear down the elephant. But during her darkest hour, the citizens of Margate rallied to her defense. The city was bombarded with protest letters and phone calls, and pickets demonstrated around Lucy chanting, "We want the elephant." The city began searching for a way to save her and agreed to accept Lucy as a donation from the Gertsens. The Save Lucy Committee would be responsible for relocating the elephant to a city-owned property. It took over 6 years and $25,000, but finally in July 1970, Lucy was ready to pack up her trunk and move.
The house mover said, "Look, if you hear anything unusual, run." In other words, they thought it was just going to collapse into a heap of debris.
But Lucy remained intact, slowly towed down the street by a yellow pickup truck 2 blocks to her new home. Rich Helfand, the committee's vice president, was one of the kids watching the slow procession from the sidewalk.
It was overwhelming to see this little truck pulling this 90-ton creature. I was 7 years old, and I was just overwhelmed. I don't remember what was going through my mind, just the awe of seeing this giant elephant that I used to play in as a young kid. And then the city had condemned her, so you couldn't go in her anymore, being moved, and the thought of her being saved. It was great. Not
everyone was thrilled with the move at first. Josephine remembers an irate neighbor across the street whose view of the ocean was now obstructed by the huge pachyderm.
Well, the lady was known as Big Marge, and she wrote a letter to the local newspaper complaining that she has to look at the A end of an elephant after all those years of having a beautiful view of the Atlantic Ocean. As time went on, she became Lucy's guardian. She kept calling me on the phone, "Josephine, somebody's over there. I don't think they should be doing what they're doing." And I'd say, "Oh, it's all right. It's a contractor. He's examining this or that, whatever." And she happened to be a bookie. And when she was open for business, she would put the American flag in the window. She was a great woman. She really was. Terrific.
Drawing sheet A1 is the floor plan. Now if we turn the page, here you can see we have a cross section, an interior elevation of what is going to be installed inside as part of the interior restoration.
Margaret Westfield is the Haddon Heights architect overseeing renovations to Lucy. The restoration has been painstakingly slow, as Lucy's structure needed considerable attention before interior work could begin, and funding is a perpetual concern. Her warped tusks had to be redone, her rotting belly rebuilt, and her exterior painted. By the summer of 2000, says Margaret, Lucy's insides will also be restored to their original Victorian grandeur.
And basically what we discovered through analyzing the fabric that does survive is that all this woodwork was originally stained, which was surprising. Now we knew the plaster was pink, gastric pink they call it, so it's going to be really beautiful. But it's not a Victorian color scheme that you would have expected for 1881.
Watch your steps. Stay to the wide part of the stairs.
Okay. It's a steep climb up the stairway in Lucy's hind leg to the main floor of the elephant's interior. Then another short flight of steps up to her head, where you can peer out of her huge eyes at the beach beyond. It's a little like being inside the hull of a great ship, her skeletal framework crisscrossed by curved ribs and beams.
It's kind of like a ship turned upside down in its form. And that's the neat thing. This summer there might not be a lot of artifacts, but you can really see how this building is put together. You can see the steel structure, which was introduced in the 70s. There is still one original wood truss in the back. Mm-hmm. See those crisscrosses? Mm-hmm. That's a heavy timber frame. The rest of it had rotted, and so was replaced with steel.
Here she comes.
Back outside, it appears that Lucy has a surprise visitor. Governor Christy Todd Whitman has swung by, along with a cavalcade of cyclists on a tour of the shore area, to present a check to the Save Lucy Committee, a grant from the New Jersey Historic Trust to continue Lucy's repairs. And what does the governor think of Lucy's political affiliation?
Well, Lucy's a Republican elephant, of course. The only reason her trunk is down, and people might question a Republican because the trunk is down, she's taking a drink, and that's okay. We Republicans do that too.
So ends another busy day in the life of Lucy the Margate elephant. 118 years after her birth, she still leads an active life. As a local celebrity, she's appeared in People magazine and had a write-up in the Philadelphia Inquirer. And she's been visited by the likes of Woodrow Wilson, the DuPonts, and the Rockefellers. She's been declared a National Historic Landmark. She may never have won the Miss America title, but Lucy was, is, and always will be Margate's leading lady and New Jersey's shining star. For New Jersey Times, I'm Marisa Pearson.